finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo and no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Okay, well, welcome back. We are Dr. Tim and May Hindmarsh. We are definitely BS Free MD. And as promised, what we're going to do is we're going to put together really a year's worth of interviews that we've done at various times. Really started last January with Corey Leftowich, who is a personal trainer who's actually trained us. You thought that was possible? Well, actually, it is.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, you can. But unlike dogs, I am still lacking the ability to lick my genitals. Yes.
When you're snoring.
Yeah. So that part, definitely increased flexibility, but not to that degree.
You haven't gotten to the cow. Oh, never mind. I won't even say the position. I don't know what yoga position that is where you can.
No, I think you're getting yoga and Kama Sutra.
I think I'm getting them mixed up,
Yes.
and we aren't doing that this episode.
Downward dog is yoga. Congress of the Cow is Kama Sutra.
Either way.
But doesn't Congress of the Cow sound just great? Like you go out for dinner, you have a couple drinks, you bring your beautiful lady back home, and it's like, would you like to Congress of the Cow?
Anything cow just does not get me in the mood. Unless it's ice cream, maybe. Or cheesecake. Okay, all this food talk is going to make me
Congress
hungry.
of the cheesecake. So anyways, what we've done, as promised, what we're going to do is put together basically
the secret sauce.
The secret sauce as far as diet.
Figured out.
We're not getting into the exercise side tonight. That was an entirely other part. That's actually really easy, which is move your body and lift heavy things. There, done. Exercise is over.
Lift heavy shit and sweat.
Yes. But the diet part is what people get freaked out about. Plus, there's nothing in the entire world of medicine more cult-like than diets. Like people just lose their
I hate
minds.
The word. To me, diet is a freakishly 4-letter word because it is. It brings the connotations of restriction and negativity, bad, hard. It's worse than budget. It's like unfreeing. It's painful.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's stupid.
Well, I disagree because just like budgets, they are restrictive. Diets are restrictive. They're restrictive with a purpose. And when you understand that, then I think, then it is freeing. The issue really is the whole going on a diet. That's completely insane.
Yeah, I think we're using terms differently.
Yeah, because if you go on a diet, then you're going to go off a diet. It's like I'm going on vacation. Well, the reason it's vacation and not, something else, retirement or changing jobs, is because you're going to go back to what you did before. So the whole concept of going on a diet, I think I agree with you.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
It's completely insane.
Yes. How many diets have you gone in your life?
Me?
Yeah, you.
0.
You didn't do any okay, so.
None.
Wow.
0. I never did like the grapefruit diet or the F-plan diet or the keto diet or the whatever. I've changed stuff that I've eaten, but I've never done it nearly to the degree that I have this year. And, we'll walk through what that's done for us and how it works and what we think works. Because, literally, we interviewed Dr. Micah Yu, who went totally vegetarian and essentially cured himself of ankylosing spondylitis. Like, you can't deny that. It worked. And then, a few weeks later, we interview Anthony Chafee, the neurosurgeon from Australia, and he eats 0 plant products. Like, it's not like he eats some broccoli and some rice once in a while. He eats 0. And he's absolutely convinced that not only does he feel better, which he does, and he has better athletic performance and in all of those sort of aspects of, human flourishing, but he's convinced that's exactly how everyone should be.
Right.
So, how can both of those things be true at the same time?
Well, I think what we should do is I wrote down and summarized kind of all the episodes that we did and what they were about. And maybe we could give a 1-paragraph summary kind of about everything before we kind of come up with what we think is going on. And I was blown away at how many episodes what we've done starting back in June of this year with Corey from Redefining Strength. We did the episode in June. It's episode 74 called Macro Hacks. And we were learning ourselves about macros. I mean, when I was in school in home ec, we basically just called it protein, carbs, and fats. But now it's, counting macros and the balance of those ratios. So why don't we talk about the importance, not the importance, but the summary of what Corey was saying and the gist of your macros, and what did you learn, Tim?
Okay, so macros are nutrients. That's why they're called macros. It's just like a nickname. Okay, so why is that? Why does that matter? Well, because you can sit there and try to parse out all these micronutrients, like refined or ultra refined carbohydrates versus regular, complex carbohydrates, et cetera, et cetera. But really, if you just go protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and don't really, screw down more than that, it's actually fairly easy to radically alter not only what you're eating, but the amount of calories that you're consuming.
Right. And I think, it's really important for people to start there, and using, like we use MyFitnessPal, things to look and track is really important, because even though you are maybe very educated and understand foods pretty well, you'll be surprised at, food is not just all exclusively one, a carb or a protein. You eat a steak and it's not just protein. You think, oh, it's like an 8-ounce steak, therefore it's 8 ounces of protein. No, it has fat. It's a combination. And there's lots of foods that cross all things. Yogurts will have fat and protein and carbs, and they're all different ratios. So depending on what kind of yogurt you buy, you might be getting tons of fat or tons of carbs compared to the protein. So even documenting and keeping track of those, I mean, it's surprising. People think of eggs and they just think cholesterol. Well, there's protein in there and fat.
Yeah. Well, remember fruit on the bottom, yogurt?
Yes.
Which was jam on the bottom. So it was yogurt with jam. And then you had to mix it up, right? And I mean, basically it should just be shit on the bottom, yogurt. Because that's exactly what it is.
Unless you like
eating jam, but you feel good because it's in yogurt.
Yeah, well, basically, put your own fruit in it. It's better for you. But I think it's really important for people
to put no fruit in it, because plants are trying to kill you.
So we went with Corey, and in the podcast she talked about it, and we did it. You were such a BASTARD doing it, counting all the macros and writing it down for a while. And then I'm like, why is he so grouchy? Until I started like micro managing, like writing everything down, measuring everything with a teaspoon and a tablespoon and a cup, and what a pain. But it was the only real way to figure out exactly what the balance of it, because you can think what you're really getting until you do it, and you're like, holy cow.
Okay, here's the deal. It's really simple. If you want to lose weight or you want to change your body shape, okay, in other words, you don't necessarily want to lose weight, but you want to gain muscle and you want to be, look a different way or perform a different way athletically or whatever. And you're not there now, and you've been trying to do that and it's not working, then that means you have to do something different. End of story. Well, because what you're doing is not working.
Let's just say that that tracking it is really just collecting the data.
And the it's where you data. Start, okay. And I liken caloric intake and macros and all of this. This is exactly the same as what we've done in other episodes, talking about with various guests, talking about financial independence and financial responsibility and figuring it out. Okay, none of this is very hard. It's actually very, very easy to understand. It is very difficult to maintain and to implement. Okay,
what counting your macros?
Well, yes, it's difficult because people don't want to do it. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's really fun going to a restaurant and trying to figure out your macros.
You absolutely have to do this.
Right.
And I
think everybody should.
I would recommend, and you don't have to do it forever, but you absolutely have to do it for a minimum of 2 months. If you want
I was going to say at least a month for sure, 2 months.
If you want to lose weight, or whatever,
Because
gain muscle, whatever
because
your
there's some
goal.
of you, which, we will get deep dive into this right now, but are under eaters. I being one of them. Of course, most people are getting way more calories than they think that they are. But the other thing is also some of us are under eaters and not getting enough. And then you wonder why you can't
Yeah, but
maintain
you
this.
were under eating calories and eating way, way, way too little protein. So there's never a
Right,
chance that you'd gain
right.
like a
So,
shred of
so,
muscle.
so my point being is it's collecting the data for everybody, no matter what your goals are. And then you could go, oh, light bulb moment. Usually there's a surprise. I would say sometimes not. And then from there, you can take that and how to adjust your macros. We won't get into, but it really does matter what you're putting in your body. And then you'll see all the empty calories and
So
all those
really what
bags
it
of
is,
Cheetos.
yeah, what it is it's a training exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a training exercise because it forces you to learn what you should be eating and kind of how much and at what ratio. Okay.
And
so you
she
don't have
talks about that in the podcast too. She emphasizes more protein, how to modify carbs and fats. But this as a starting point, how to count macros, that's the place to start.
and the app that we use, we don't get sponsored by them. It would be great if we did, but MyFitnessPal is a complete no-brainer. Like
Yeah,
you
there's so many
literally
foods in there. Like you go to type in or you scan the barcode. There's a barcode scanner. You got to double check it though, because often it's wrong. But once you put it in, it'll find things. You'll be surprised. So yes, I agree with
No,
you.
like I mean, I literally went to Red Robin on the way to, I don't know, a rock concert of some kind. And I went, Red Robin, whatever, giant bison Asperger or whatever.
Someone's put it in there.
And it was in there.
Yep, you got it. So that was 74. So then, okay, let's go into talking about fasting. Now, we didn't really get into the scientific data-driven evidence on this, but we did an episode number 75 on intermittent fasting called Fasting Dice with Daniel Reyes, who tells us his story, which is really moving, and how he was literally in a hospice bed, unbeknownst to him, until he kind of came out of a coma-like state and changed his eating style because he figured that he found out that the only way he was even going to try to be able to be eligible for gastric bypass was to pretty much starve himself to begin with fasting. And then it turned into a positive thing where he learned that intermittent fasting was working for him. And so he talks a lot about how he has changed the time of fasting and mixed that up. We didn't really get into, the pros and cons of what fasting does, who should and shouldn't do it specifically, but fasting, I'm going to say is definitely got a lot of benefits. You're not going to starve to death. People are always afraid that they can't even make it 16 hours because they're starving to death and hungry. And you have enough stores on you that you can go 3 months without eating.
Bobby Sands was went on a hunger strike.
Was it 3 weeks without drinking and 3 months without food, right? That's what the body's
3
able.
days without drinking water.
Sorry.
3 days.
Not
3 weeks. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I have a hard time going 3 weeks
It's
without
night.
vodka.
It's night. My brain's not.
So no, it's 3 weeks,
Yes,
like
sorry,
3
it's 3
days.
months. So
At day 5, it is if you have like an infrastructure collapse and you have like no, water, food, whatever, by day 5, it is the zombie apocalypse. People are killing each other for a drink of water.
Right.
That's
Sorry.
basically what happened.
That was a faux pas. So fasting is that episode's very fascinating, but I would like to. We need to find some more information on intermittent
the interesting
fasting.
thing about
I've read a bunch of stuff, and I think it's different for different groups. Because sorry to cut you off, but what I want to say quickly is that most of the data on fasting has been done on men, not women. And the book that I read that I think all women should read by Dr. Stacy Sims, and I'll link this, called Next Level. She is a really renowned researcher. She coaches ultra high-end athletes, Olympic athletes, and she's a triathlete herself, and she's a PhD in physiology. But in her book, she does talk about women are different specimens than men, and women are not small men. And the studies on intermittent fasting don't apply mostly to women because I think there's only been like 3 out of all the studies. So So what we know on intermittent fasting is that there definitely is a purpose. We know that it helps with cell turnover. It seems to improve metabolic profiles, meaning it does help decrease your insulin resistance and drop your blood sugar. And but most of those have been on men, so I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the deal. I mean, you can dive really super deep into the weeds on a lot of this, and it's like, people that have this coenzyme in their blood at a certain level live 0.3% longer than people that like. There's a point where you just got to go, okay, like enough already. All right. So with Daniel Reyes in that episode, what struck me is he tried everything.
He's talking about weight loss. When
No,
now
I know.
you and I are starting to go
Right.
down the bunny trails about
but
longevity
for
and
most people
autophagy,
listening,
but we're talking about
most
dieting.
people that are listening care about weight loss.
Yes.
That's it. It's weight loss.
Right.
Okay.
But I would, and this is getting into the weeds again, but you're right. You stop eating, you will lose weight. But there gets to be a certain point where then your cortisol could start to go up because of the stress or the fasting. And it affects things. And it's not like you're not going to lose weight, but
well, no, but the point is
I don't know that it's
that
the healthiest way to lose weight.
the point is that that's why it's intermittent, right? Because otherwise you go into starvation mode and then you're burning tons of muscle, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why you probably shouldn't go on a super long fast.
So let's talk about this a little bit.
But Daniel Reyes tried everything. I mean, he tried keto, he tried high protein, he tried counting macros, he tried absolutely everything. And the only thing that worked was intermittent fasting. And so I went back to the Tim Hindmarsh principle of losing weight, which is what's the best diet? It's the one that works. Okay. So I think as a tool in the toolkit, this is a very, very useful multi-tool for the vast majority of people, because there's a lot of people, when you define something for them, you say, okay, you're not going to eat for 16 hours, hit the button on your watch or on your phone and count it. And until it goes to 16 hours, nothing, like other than water, nothing goes in your mouth.
And so
is really powerful. It's super powerful. And so you start with doing that, once a week, and then 3 times a week. And then maybe you do it for 2 weeks, and then you work up and you do a 24-hour fast to see if you can do that. I think for a lot of people, it's super empowering because, I think it's a great tool.
So there's a lot of really good books out there on how to get started doing intermittent fasting. I'm going to give another plug to another author that I like. And I listened to, and I posted this on our story page, this book that I just listened to on Audible. So Dr. James D. Nicolantonio, he goes by Dr. James D. Nick. He has a book called The Obesity Fix, one of many that he's written. And he has a PhD pharmacologist researcher. I think if you're trying to lose weight, you need to read, shouting it out now. I was going to say it for the end, but I'm going to say you need to read that book because it goes into the whole history of obesity, the major causes of ways to fix it. And there's a big section, Tim, on intermittent fasting and different kinds of fasting and studies on it. And on the fasting section, he agrees, with what you're saying, that most people should be able to go 16, for sure, 12 hours. I mean, good grief, if you eat dinner at 6 at night on average, 7, 8, if you're a little late, you should be able to go 12 hours, wake up the next day at 7 or 8 without eating anything.
It's really easy. If the last morsel of food goes in your mouth at 8:00 at night, then you don't eat till noon the next day.
Right.
And that's like,
so anyway,
that seems like a complete
what I was going to
no-brainer.
say is he does compare different fasting styles. They're everything from twice a week fasting, the 12 and the 16-hour fast, the like a 24-hour fast. I think they don't recommend doing that more than once a month. But the one he highly recommends, and it's called Matador, just like the Spanish conquistador guy. Matador fasting was impressive. The data shows that this works the best, and it's kind of complex, and I won't go into it in great detail. But what you look it up, and basically what you're doing is you're figuring out how much you weigh and how many calories you need based at your current weight, and then you're eating that amount of calories per day. Say you're, 170-pound man, you need 2,800 calories a day. Well, you actually eat that for 2 weeks to make sure you're not above it. And then you reduce your calories by what your current amount is by 30% for 2 weeks. So you figure out 30% of where you're at, and you go down for 2 weeks. And then what happens is your body's starting to lose weight. And then you go back up, you weigh yourself, and you figure out, oh, now I'm at this new weight. I'm 168 pounds. Now what is my caloric load? It's going to drop a little bit. You go back up to that new set point, and you eat at that level, maintain for 2 weeks, and then you go cut by 30%. So you're going up and down. But what happens is you're not cutting your calories for like 2 months at a time, because your body will start to adapt to that low level. It'll go into starvation mode. You have to go back to your new weight and get used to eating regular amounts of food so that it doesn't prevent the long-term weight gain. So it appears to be the healthiest type of diet, and you can use intermittent fasting in there as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think that, but I think it's way too complicated. I think most people don't want to try to deal with that. I
well,
think
he
that,
talks about eating 2 meals a day. So you start
yeah, I
off,
think
and then you eat in the window of, you can do the 8-hour eating
I mean,
window.
I think that I'm sure that works great, but it's way too complicated. Okay. I mean, it's kind of like
Well,
telling
that's like
people,
counting your macros. You got to know what you're putting in your body.
well, you do, but it's like, oh, is this the week that I go back to it's 20%, but now it's of 168 pounds. No, I like,
No, because he talked about Ramadan and people fasting, and they do those fasts and they don't eat. And then that 8-hour window, they're stuffing themselves with all kinds of
no,
garbage, and they're going way over their
no,
calorie load,
I have a very good friend who
and
is
they are
Muslim,
not losing weight.
and who uses Ramadan, I think, for what it's intended, which is depriving yourself and thinking about spiritual stuff and whatever. And he tends to lose a few pounds, during the month. But he said, like, in most Middle Eastern countries, everyone gains
No,
more.
because they're eating cheesecake and crap when they're
Well,
eating
because what happens
eating
is
period.
it's I mean, depending on the time of the year,
It's a
but generally
celebration.
it's 12 to 14 hours of fasting.
They're celebrating while they're eating.
And then the second the clock strikes sundown, it's party time. It's Mardi Gras for whatever it is until the sun comes up, and then they fast. And then so it kind of morphed into this party thing.
Whatever many hours to eat, I'm gonna stuff in as much as I can, and then you overconsume. So
right, no, that's exactly what happened. He said virtually
you have to have some guidelines.
It has been studied, and there's lots of Muslim majority countries where they're very active fasters during Ramadan, and they gain weight.
Well, anyway,
ubiquitously.
I would say, from what I've read in a bunch of other books, from what we've heard elsewhere, the 16-hour fast is the safest for both females and males alike, and that 16 hours seems to be the point and the place where everyone can reap the benefits of fasting, the cell turnover called autophagy, where you decrease all these inflammatory markers, and also train your body to lower its hunger hormones, etc. So the summary of that would be the 16-hour fasting window is good. Some people like to push it further. Try to work your way up there slowly. Start with 12 and then go to the next time, try to bump it up to 13 hours, 14 hours instead of just jumping right in. So check out that episode. Anyway, it was really inspiring with Daniel and number 75.
The guy, I mean, the thing that's the most interesting about that interview is he comes from kind of a tech background. He did like video production or something. And he started looking at, he started following all of these kind of diet influencers on Instagram. And so there'd be the guy that did keto and the guys that did like whatever, like pick your diet of the month club, right? And he started tracking them over time. And what happened was the people that were doing these other various diets just stopped posting all of a sudden. Like they're posting. Look, I'm losing weight. Look, I look great. I'm at the beach, blah, blah, blah. And then they just disappeared. And he goes, oh, well, they disappeared because they gained their weight back. And he said the people that posted the most consistently for the longest period of time, suggesting that they were the most successful in their weight loss goals, were the intermittent fasters. He's like, these people on these other diets, they'd lose tons of weight really quickly. And it's 6 months. They're like, I'm at goal. This is great. I'm a hero. And then they'd start posting after 6 or 7 months because they'd start gaining weight again. The intermittent fasting people, he goes, I'm following guys that have been doing this for years, and their body is exactly the same as when they, reached their goal. So that was the trigger to him going, maybe there's something different here, which I thought was really, really interesting.
Well, then let's jump ahead to episode 78 we did in July with your friend Rocky, who we called that food challenge to fitness trainer, although I call him the fitness god because he's very fit and buff. So then he gorges himself on these food challenges and eats not even just on food challenges. Like he'll do an activity. Of course, an activity being climbing to the summit of Mount Hood. And then he eats, like I just get sick looking at it, like a whole box of those ice cream cone things and a box of cookies as dessert and like, I don't know how many burgers and then salad. And
you got to follow him. He's on Instagram at Kung Fu Flyer, and his food challenge stuff. Like you have to see it to understand
looking at his Instagram sometimes when he eats all that. But
yeah, like
he doesn't eat that way all the time.
He'll eat 4 large pizzas in a sitting. Or what was his first one he did? A 72-ounce steak. 72-ounce steak.
My tummy hurts.
Like, what is that, 5 pounds?
But it was really fun talking to him because, I mean, what did he say? Most of the time he follows a macro diet, and I think he eats 40-40-20, meaning 40 protein, 40 carb, 20 fats. But then when I see him eating all that stuff after some of his endeavors, I'm like, looks like it's all fat and carbs. And
yeah, and you also the other side of Rocky that you have to see
so much
is like he has summit week, where every single day he summits a different mountain.
So he's burning a lot of calories.
And like, so he goes from mountain to mountain in Oregon. Like, it was Mount Hood today. Oh, now it's Mount Thielsen. Oh, now it's an easy one, Mount St. Helens. Oh, now it's every single day for a week. So
the theme
that's another side to that.
He said that, he loves food. He enjoys food. And this is a fun way for him to enjoy food. But he also, has a reason to eat that amount because he also loves to, exercise and burn things off.
Yeah, but he said, I think one of the most important things in the entire concept of, okay, I want to change my health. I want to do something for myself, which was, if you don't have a reason to do it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
And so he started becoming very physically active when he was, I think he's still living in Hawaii as a kid. And he's like, man, I love doing all these outdoor activities, but if I'm going to do them, I need to be fit and I need to take care of myself. And that means I just can't, sit around eating shave ice at the beach.
Yeah.
And so that's really important. I think the thing that maintains people's, discipline or whatever you want to say is they're doing this for a reason. Okay. And I mean, I don't care what the reason, honestly, I don't care what the reason is. I mean, even if it's just, I want to look good in my bikini till I'm 70, that's fine. I think for a lot of people, that's not enough of a reason. I mean, for
some of us, that's all we got left.
Yeah. For me,
nothing works anymore.
For me, it's physical performance and having, just the difference I've noticed.
What kind of physical performance?
Oh, brother.
I caught you off guard there.
Yeah.
Didn't I? I know how to make him stop in his tracks. Anyway, Rocky said it well. You got to have a reason for being. And, what is it? What's your passion? Do you like to hunt? Don't you want to be able to walk across the forest to shoot that elk? Do you want to just get out with your grandkids and play in the park without needing your inhaler and your oxygen tank? Like literally, what is it that drives you? So it can be
and now, things. Cameron Hanes, probably the greatest bow hunter in the history of bow hunting, lives down in Springfield. And that was his motivator. He's like, if I am going to hunt and I love this and I'm going to pursue this, the way to do this better is to be fitter than anyone, because I will go where only the animals are, because I'll be willing to carry them back out.
True.
Because I'm fit enough to do that.
But it doesn't, my point was, it doesn't always have to be that extreme. It can be just being with the grandkids.
No, but I think
that you're able to play with them.
And exactly. Or not be dead when your daughter gets married. That's probably a good motivator.
Exactly.
but I think these really practical things, it's like I want to be able to do a 5K, or I want to be able to uh ski this winter and not, you know, need oxygen to put my boots on because my belly's so
You're
big that it
talking from
completely it
experience.
completely, like, it's so weird, right? Like last year, I mean, I've water skied. I've been in the lake 26 times this year, and like I couldn't believe it the first time I skied, right? Because I was in what 17, 18 pounds lighter and way stronger, so I probably gained 5+ pounds of muscle and lost the rest was just pure fat loss, largely in my gut. And I'm like, I finish a pass and I'm like, I don't need oxygen. Like I can actually keep doing
You didn't
this.
have to do like uh synchronized swimming breath holding to go down to type your shoe.
No, it was absolutely unbelievable. And I was used to that 10 years ago. And then, I had some injuries and you kind of, you like, it's easy to just say,
Stuff happens.
screw it. Right. It hurts to run. It hurts to this or that. I'll just do something else. And then when you go back, you're like, okay, I get this now. But then it's the hook. For me, it's the hook. It's like, okay, I want to maintain because I want to keep being able to perform at this level and see how far I can take this, because now I can run again. Like there's all this stuff I couldn't do very effectively or really safely before that I can now. And it wasn't like I lost 100 pounds. I mean, it wasn't like these guys you see on, social media that, completely
If you
transform
lost
themselves.
100 pounds, then I would have to set you on this desk with one hand.
Well, then I would be dead.
You'd be blown away.
I would
But
be dead.
yes, I know you didn't have 100 pounds to lose. So
No, so I mean, but I lost 10%, which is what they say is kind of the secret sauce for changing your health, is 10% of your
that's
body mass.
huge. Now, the next episode I want to get to, which really I think piqued my interest and spoke to me and a lot of people who are really interested in autoimmune disease, inflammatory healing, was the episode we did with rheumatologist Dr. Micah Yu on autoimmune healing in August number 86. And what was fascinating is he is a rheumatologist who had an autoimmune condition, ankylosing spondylitis, gout, and I think maybe something else. But when he was going through medical school, and he decided to make some changes to his diet, especially in lifestyle, to try to effect a positive change in as much way as he could so he would avoid taking medications. And lo and behold, he reversed his autoimmune disease, which is awesome. We're not saying that everybody will just by diet, but that was fascinating because, there's so much out there about autoimmune diets, plant-based diet, which is what he did, to avoid inflammatory foods. And you hear a lot about these foods are inflammatory. This diet is healthier for autoimmune things. And so I like his approach because he didn't come out and say, he agreed that not everybody necessarily has to do a complete plant-based vegetarian or vegan diet to get healing from autoimmune disease. It does vary. That's what worked for him, and it does work for a lot of people.
I don't think he's vegan though.
No. But I'm just saying, plant-based mostly, being the focus to get healing. And he, I challenged him on that a little bit because I knew that there's a lot of evidence for carnivore diet healing autoimmune disease, which we'll talk about later. And so he says it really depends on the person. So that's and that there's lots of evidence and a lot of people who believe that inflammatory foods involve a lot of animal meat products. So what's your thinking on that?
I think that's complete horse crap. Um, uh, I think, I think he got better because I think that you can eat a plant-based diet and lose weight and feel way better, and you could potentially heal inflammatory conditions from it. Clearly, he did that. I think that's 100% true.
So what?
But I think this inflammatory foods thing is largely theoretical. I don't know if you can prove it. It probably makes some sense, But the idea that humans are primarily plant-based eaters makes absolutely zero sense. It makes zero sense.
No, we're not critiquing that right now. We're talking about the fact that about inflammatory foods, and plants are more anti-inflammatory if you pick the right ones compared to an animal-based diet.
No,
I mean,
I don't
it's
think you
all
can.
over.
I don't think you can say that.
The
I don't.
animal
I do
products
not.
are
I
inflammatory. They
don't.
recommend cutting out a lot of things. Recommend cutting out dairy as well as animal fats and animal
No,
proteins
I don't
to
think that.
heal inflammation.
I don't think that's the case. I think that the problem is it's in food processing. I think
Yeah,
I
I
think the
agree with you. I
I
agree
think
with
the
you.
common thread in all of this is food processing. Like, you can be vegan and eat the crappiest diet in the history of the world because it's the most overprocessed garbage in history, right? It's low carb, 100% vegan, gluten free, whatever, and it's just garbage. Okay, because it's processed like crazy,
No, the
right?
plant-based stuff is usually full of gluten, like
Yeah,
all those
well,
the
right,
fake
like
fake
tofu,
meat.
the fake meat,
That's the worst stuff.
because meat is so bad for you, but we love the taste, so we have to have fake meat. Okay, go have fake sex. And while you're at
Yeah,
it, go fake sex yourself.
I
Like,
cha
honestly, that
I
is the most
I know. I
completely
challenge
insane
people
thing.
to look at the ingredients
No,
on those packages of those.
like tofurkey or whatever that stuff is. That
Well, it's got tofu, but then it has flavoring, and it
and
has so much stuff like
it has
MSG and
more.
gluten and
It has. I think
stuff
it
that I
has.
don't even know what it is. It's you need an organic chemistry
I think it
degree to
has more
know.
gluten in it than bread. Than
Yeah,
actual bread, which is wheat, which
yeah,
is where they get the gluten.
yeah.
Like
Oh, and get this. Now there is um fake. Oh shoot, what was it? It's not ketchup. It's I'll think of it in a second. We'll keep talking. But it's other something that, I mean, it's supposed to be meat, but they try to make it plant-based. It just makes
no,
no sense.
like
It's all over the place.
the whole point is it's fake food, right? Okay, so the fake food. So if you're going to eat, so what did Micah do that was so great with his plant-based diet? He didn't eat processed garbage. He ate like actual vegetables that came from, trees and the ground. Okay, so he completely eliminated all the processed garbage. Okay, well, when we get into the carnivore stuff, what did they do? And they'll tell you this. Like, you can eat super over processed meat. I mean, are you kidding? Like, they add nitrates to bacon and like all of this food processing. And same with dairy, right? Okay, like a piece of raw high-end cheese is not a slice of American cheese, because American cheese, as much as I like it, is oil and sugar
Well,
with yellow dye.
hence American cheese.
No, like,
It's
so
okay. You know what it is?
the point.
It's in the egg section, and it is dairy-free eggs. It's egg. I don't know what the name of it is, but it comes in a little container that looks like a mustard container, and it is plant-based egg product. It's not even eggs.
That is so completely like, if you're that weirded out about about adhering to some sort of vegan whatever, that you can't even eat eggs, then you are in a religion. You are not. That is not science. That's not diet based on human performance. You are in a religion at that point.
Okay, so let's dial it back a little bit. I think uh, there's definitely foods that affect people differently. So I will. I mean, we all know that. We all have our things. People are sensitive to different things, and a lot of people don't tolerate meat as well. Beef can upset their stomach. People don't digest it. They have food allergies to dairy. I have migraines, and I know that there's certain foods, not just the typical types of ones that set me off, but there are certain plants like nightshades and peppers and sometimes avocados, MSG, but certain classes of foods are not really cool for me to eat. And I think that maybe, I don't know, maybe there are some foods that are maybe a bit more inflammatory, but I agree with you that it's really hard to prove that. I mean, other than like things like peanut butter or oils that are terrible for you in general, like the seed oils, those would be, but unless you can measure it
But
somehow in a
again,
biochemistry lab, how are you
okay.
going to know?
But again, okay.
Are you
So,
gonna
right.
measure
So,
ESR levels? Like, do they have really good data on that?
well, right. And that's why I kind of just dismiss it, because it's great. It's super fun to talk about at cocktail parties, but it's not necessarily helpful for people that really want to try to get a grasp on
So
their own.
we think that it's because people are cutting out a lot of the garbage when they go plant-based and just eating healthy
Correct.
plant food.
That is exactly right. And if you feel better, like, honestly, I don't care. I
Well,
have no dog in this fight. If you feel better on a plant-based diet and you're not losing tons of muscle, and you're getting your weight loss goals, and if you're a diabetic, your diabetes gets better, and all of those great things, keep doing it. Like, whatever. I think I think intuitively a plant-based diet for humans makes 0 sense, because humans are hunter-gatherers. We have eyes on the front of our
well,
head
we'll get to
because
that
we're
in a bit.
predators, and predators eat other animals, and we're the alpha predator of all alpha predators in the entire earth. So we should be killing shit and eating it.
You don't want to eat me, do you? You're not.
Okay, really, honestly, you
You're
actually asked that
well, you
question on a
said
broadcast.
you said that you want to eat other animals. I'm an animal. You're not a. Oh, what was the name of that tribe in the Philippines that hunted other humans and ate them?
Oh
I don't know.
yeah,
It's just making me think of that plane crash when they.
no, that was in the Andes though.
Yeah.
That wasn't because they were headhunters and cannibals like those folks in the Philippines.
No, that was survival.
Yeah, that was like the
Anyway,
Donner Party.
That's what
Donner Party of 4.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll be having
if we're dying in the wilderness, are you going to eat me?
What are you gonna have, Mr. Donner? I'd like the leg of Sam.
Sadly, they
please.
did that was it World War I where they had to do that in
No, it was that actually, this is completely a bunny trail, but
that's us.
That was the show called Mr. Jones.
No, but it was based on true.
It was absolutely true. It was based on Mr. Jones, who was a reporter for, I forget which newspaper in the
Just
United
get to
States.
the war that it was.
And it was just before, I think. Yeah, it was just before. It's in the 30s, just before the Second World War. All these American journalists were praising the Soviet Union for being so great, and
Russia was starving,
and so he actually snuck into Ukraine, and they were eating their children because their children would die of starvation, and then the family would just like.
Yes, that was that. Yeah, that's sad and horrible. Anyway, moving right along. Well, you brought up eating animals.
Billy's a little tough.
Number 92 was the show that we did with Martha Teddenborn, that was fun. Not so much about diet and weight loss, but if you want to hear a really good episode on keto and fasting and how that's helpful for cancer therapy and chemotherapy and how it actually affects your metabolism and the cancer cells and can be a positive, helpful tool, that's an episode for you. And let's just say that, she's a dietitian who kind of bucks the system of regular dietitians in that she likes to regularly follow a low refined carb diet and focus more on protein, which is unusual. So she eats that way normally. But that was a fun episode on the importance of keto and intermittent fasting while undergoing chemotherapy.
The thing that got me there, which I didn't know, was, and I know the listeners are like, wow, he didn't know something. That's amazing. Which was the fact that cancer cells can only metabolize sugar. So for energy, they can't metabolize ketones, whereas your entire body can, your brain gets a little weirded
ketones.
out.
No. Your brain can use ketones.
Yeah. And so
just not protein.
Yeah.
Can't cross the blood-brain barrier.
So the thing that's really fascinating is that if you are ketogenic, cancer cells have it hampers them. Doesn't mean they're not going to grow at all, but it means that
they're starving.
They are starving because they won't burn ketones.
They are starving.
But and you obviously have blood sugar, so it's not like your blood sugar is 0 when you're ketotic. So obviously the cancer cells can still grow, but it definitely hampers them. And I have, at least anecdotally, seen some pretty amazing things with some pretty significant cancers where guys have, people have done the fasting, altered their diet, changed the amount they exercise, just to basically kind of starve the cancer out. And it really is fascinating. I mean, she talks about this friend of hers who had this child with, it was one of these really awful childhood cancers, and childhood cancers tend to grow very quickly and they're really horrible. And I mean, she kept this kid alive with, I don't know what it was, like a glioblastoma or a Wilms tumor or something for like over a year, unheard of. And it was, chemo plus diet. It was really cool. So that was wild.
Yeah. Well, and back to the fasting thing and the importance of that, I just finished my other book from Dr. James Dinick, The Longevity Solution. That's so, after the obesity one, I used to read that because it talks about how to live longer, and it goes into societies that lived in the blue zones, that lived to, 100, 120 in these different areas of the world, and what they were doing and what they ate. But he goes deep into fasting and the benefits of that. And what happens is that there's this thing called mTOR, and insulin growth factor, IGF-1, that are really important in keeping your cells alive. And when you fast, those numbers go down. And so I think what happens is that the balance between the fasting and the cancer cells and the cell turnover, the autophagy, where your healthy cells clean up the garbage and kill the cancer cells, is all happening, and that's restoring that balance. And it's pretty cool. So anyway, let's talk about the last episode we did and summarize that one before we give you our tips on weight loss, which
this
was number
one,
93 last week with the plant-free MD, Dr. Anthony Chafee. He's totally carnivore.
Honestly, from my perspective, and I guess it may just be my biases, he made the most convincing argument of anybody as
He's
far as.
He's very schooled and educated.
And he had reams and reams of data. He has tons of anecdotal, stories. The one that really blew my mind, which was completely counterintuitive to everything we're trained as physicians, was his friend with like end stage kidney problems. And normally you totally restrict protein in kidney disease, right? Because the thinking is that protein causes this really intense electrolyte kind of, because protein is a charged molecule, so it's harder for your kidney to filter, so it kind of plugs up your kidneys.
And all that albumin is floating in your bloodstream, and it plugs up the kidneys, just like sludge inside your carburetor.
So this guy is almost going to go on dialysis, and he's reasonably young, so he's going to start dialysis, and they're going to look for a kidney transplant. And Anthony's like, dude, carnivore, just what do you got to lose? Like, you're basically at the end anyways, And the guy completely reversed his kidney disease. And I'm like, how is that possible? And there's a huge caveat, and he would 100% agree with this, because he eats dairy, he eats milk, he eats tons of meat. You see pictures of what he eats. It's 4 pieces of bacon, a ribeye, and 4 eggs for breakfast. Sometimes he'll only eat once a day because his blood sugar is so perfectly regulated by having this super high fat. That's the thing you got to remember.
People are thinking his diet is all protein, but it's not.
No. He, as a percentage of his calories, he eats more fat than protein, and carnivores do.
And he said that it's probably 30 protein, 70 fat, and that's usually what it is. It's a keto diet.
There would be some carbs in there if he is eating any dairy, right? But not many. So he might eat 5%, 5 or 10% at the maximum.
But it's like full on keto,
right? And it's animal products, which is there's reason for thinking that, which is we're animals. We should, the most perfect nutrition is provided to us by other animals. Okay, and so the other thing that he said that I thought was really, really convincing was he said, and I never thought of this, and it's like, it's absolutely true, is if you look at other animals, like other specific species, and even different, like, you can look at deer, but there's a gazillion different types of deer. There's deers that live in Africa. There's elk that are deer. There's white-tailed deer. There's black-tailed deer. There's like all these, and these animals eat super narrow diets, like super duper narrow diets. Like giraffes eat certain leaves, but not all leaves, because if they eat the wrong leaves, they die.
I'm thinking of the poor koalas.
The koalas with chlamydia. That's awesome. That
You have to listen to that episode.
Yeah,
That's all we're gonna say.
The koalas with chlamydia. I'm just like, well, they're swingers, right? They're in trees. They're swingers.
But
So
it's true. They, they will only eat certain kind of plants. They don't eat whatever.
right, and it's like, wow, it's really crazy. Like, there's really no omnivores to speak of in the animal kingdom. There really isn't. Okay, like there's bears would be close.
There's bears.
Bears eat, but they don't. But they eat fruit and meat. They eat hikers.
There's some plants.
Fish.
They eat honey.
Oh,
What?
bother.
Stop.
Winnie the Pooh.
This show is spiraling
Winnie
out
the
of
Pooh.
control.
Did you see that those complete insane people made a live action Winnie the Pooh? That's a horror movie. That Winnie the Pooh goes back to the whatever the hell forest they live in and starts killing people.
Well,
all of the Pooh characters come to life and murder people.
Drizzle some honey on me if we ever are at the Donner Party. There you go. Leave that in your brain to think about.
It's wild. So it's fascinating because it's not like bears.
So I would love to have a co-guest with someone like that to challenge, because I really start to worry about your gut microbiome, and would like to have Dr. Hazen on, or someone to go, come on, man. Like, you need to have some pre and probiotics in there for gut microbiome health, because I'm just thinking I think you have to be genetically able to do that. I don't think everybody can just do carnivore. And micronutrient, like, it scares me, because how many people are going to do, you have to get the right micronutrients. You have to get the organ meats. You really need to be eating what they call nose to tail, literally the cartilaginous pieces.
In medicine, we call that lips to asshole.
That's true. That's exactly right. You have to eat the tendons and the skin, and you can't eat the glorified boneless, skinless chicken breast and not get all the other micronutrients. And those societies that or pure carnivore did, they ate the eyeballs and the testicles and the liver and all that stuff because it has other nutrients in there. And so people, it's unless they're going to go full on, you really need to follow that plan. And I worry about what it's going to do.
But the other thing that you have to do, which is really difficult for most people, the other thing you have to do is you have to be willing to eat real meat. Okay,
well, that's the first thing, which we're going to get to here in a bit. But I don't know.
You have to get.
I worry about,
like,
people.
We have noticed this, and we're working on a sponsorship with them. But we have started to buy this, like free range chicken meat, and grass fed and grass finished beef. Okay, like all of the real hardcore carnivore people would tell you should never eat beef that's finished on grain, because that's not what they eat. That is not in the normal diet of a cow to eat corn or any grains. They eat grass and that's it. And so you mess with the micronutrients, you mess downstream with what you're getting if you're not getting like the raw thing the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, right.
So really,
so you're jumping ahead, but let's wrap
but
up what we've learned. What do we think?
It's Ted Nugent, right? Like, you run around and you get a sharp stick and kill something that's wild, and then you eat all of it. That is really, if you're going to be truly carnivore,
you're wearing a loincloth,
that's what you have to do. Sharp sticks, running around for several hours.
Sounds like Lord of the Flies to me.
Eat everything. Eat the liver, eat the fat, eat the nuts.
You had to say that on a podcast, didn't you?
Well, you asked me if I was going to eat you. So yes, nut eating is fair game.
Nuts. Let's seriously tell everybody what we think is the ultimate obesity diet. Honestly, I think what everybody should do is a balanced approach, and so do you. And I'm going to digress, and we couldn't get him on the show. We tried, but I really would like you to read The Obesity Fix by Dr. James DiNicolo and Antonio. And I could link it again, but that is an amazing and spooky story about the history of how America and the world has gotten fat. Our consumption of carbohydrates is killing us.
Yeah. So first of all, let's say you walked into our, we're going to write on one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We absolutely 100% guarantee you that you can either A, lose weight, or B, change your body. In other words, gain muscle, or C, both. How would you get there
Okay.
in an 8.5?
I'll go first.
Yes.
Number 1, eat real food. So real food. Like if it didn't like walk and live and breathe or didn't grow from the ground, then you probably shouldn't be putting it in your mouth. And it's pretty easy. It's usually the outside of the grocery store.
I live and breathe.
Yeah, well, you said.
Just saying.
We're not going there this episode. Stop. If you don't recognize it if it's in a package, if there's anything in there that you can't pronounce or didn't even know what lab it came from, you shouldn't be eating it. So it's pretty simple. And
yeah, especially if there's a chemical and it ends in number 12.
Yeah.
Or number 16. It's, this is red dye number 15. Well, what happened to the other 14?
Or, and all the fake sugars, which we'll get to in a bit, are also terrible. I mean, it should be natural. So all the fake food stuff, just not cool. Eat as close as you can to the healthiest stuff, meaning if you can get pasture-raised beef, grain, pasture-raised eggs and dairy, great. If you can get your vegetables and fruits from like a local market or your friend that grows them, or get organic or get the frozen. Are great because they usually pick those at the peak of harvest and flash freeze them. Those actually are often healthier for you than some of the crap canned stuff. 2 thumbs down for that. Lots of additives. So real food, first place is where I'd start.
So real food, 100%, which the other way I'd say it is get rid of the crap. So it's like, no soda, limit alcohol, no,
well, those weren't living and breathing.
Coffee.
Well, we haven't got to sugar yet.
Creamers. Get rid of every single refined carbohydrate you can.
Yeah.
Like that stuff is just complete garbage.
If it's white, it's probably not good for you either.
That's right, because white lives
white
don't matter.
Bread, so
white bread
don't
matter. And so that's number 1. Is eat real food, i.e. get rid of the crap.
Yeah.
Number 2, write it all down. You have to understand what you're eating. So what that means is for the first 2 weeks, I would not change anything. If you drink 3 gallons of vodka a night, just write it down. Don't change it. Okay. Like it doesn't matter. If you eat 1 pound of honey a day, just write it down. So for 2 weeks, take an inventory, be just super honest, get used to weighing it. You have to weigh it. You have to measure it. You have to write it down and go, okay, so I am X number of pounds and I am consuming Y number of calories and I am eating ratios of, 50% carbohydrates, 20% fat, and 30% protein or whatever, and just get used to that for 2 weeks. Do it for 2 weeks. Just measure. Don't change your diet. Okay. Then when you go to measure later, I would recommend, and May and I have debated on this, like what the secret sauce is. You have to have at least 30% protein in your diet, at least.
So that would be the next thing.
Minimum, and focus on protein.
To target protein consumption
because it's the hardest macro
people,
to get,
especially women. Even if you think, I really like meat and I eat a big steak, you're going to be surprised because I thought I was that person too. And
well, I'm chock full of protein.
Apparently. So the target protein recommendations vary, but pretty much across the board, if you are even sedentary, meaning not like a big athlete, you're not out there racing, running, lifting weights, you need to try to get 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight.
Of ideal body weight.
Yes.
So, and Dr.
lean body weight.
Yeah. So for instance, lean, like, so if you weigh 200 pounds, but your lean body mass, like your ideal body weight, is 150 pounds, then you would be eating 150 to 175 grams of protein.
And how do you figure that out? So you have to use a little bit of judgment, but you look up lean body mass. I mean, most people are kind of fluffy, and so they're going to be close to 25% body fat, believe it or not. That's a good starting place.
I think for the average American woman, that's incredibly low.
So,
I'm sorry.
Well, so I would say for women, 25 for men, percent body fat. So if you're a 200-pound guy, 25% of that is 50. So 150 pounds of lean muscle mass. That means you need 150 grams of protein, and do the math that way. But that's basically look at getting your protein intake, because protein provides muscle growth, keeps you full longer, but it also has a thing we call thermic effect, where it actually takes energy to break down protein into those amino acids, and you're burning more calories eating it as well. And so protein is
and the other thing, if you focus on real food that is high in protein, you'll often get a fair bit of fat. And that's really powerful, because that really mellows out your insulin response. And insulin not only lowers your blood sugar by pushing blood sugar into your cells, it also is a growth hormone and a storage hormone. So
people think, why do I need protein? I mean, it actually helps with hormones production. It helps with immune function. It helps with all the cells in your body and all the structures, from your hair, skin, nails, to everything inside, to like even building hormone molecules. So proteins are the building blocks for pretty much everything inside your body. And so to repair, to live well, you really, believe it or not, you need protein.
Yeah,
and you can turn protein into glucose and glycogen energy if you don't use it. So people always think, oh, I need carbs to like keep me going. You don't use
no, I would use,
but ideally the ratio, the healthy ratio is 30% of your diet should be coming from healthy, lean protein sources. Now, if you want to get some plant-based protein in there, some people would say focus on 50% animal, 50% plant is healthier. And then you want to obviously try to get the low-fat things like fish a couple times a week, as well as...
Yeah, I don't think fat matters at all. I don't think low fat matters.
I didn't say low fat. I just said...
You said get the low fat things. Yeah, so you said low fat.
Oh, yes, I did. I stand corrected.
I don't think fat matters one single bit. If you're eating... Really, if you shoot for 40%, if you get 35 to 40% of your calories from protein, the fat doesn't matter.
I meant to say the healthy fats that's in fish. Sorry, I didn't mean to say low. Yeah, I meant to say the omega-3s.
Yeah, so that's the key.
The healthy fats.
You really got to, if you focus on protein and shoot for at least 30%, and then, but you're also counting calories. Like you still have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, right? Like you can eat 100% protein and still gain weight. I mean, obviously. So, but it's going to be, and this is the critical piece to the puzzle. If you don't, like, people can lose weight on anything. I mean, there was a guy from, I forget, some university in the Midwest 10 years ago that ate nothing but Twinkies and Ho-Hos. And he just figured out how many he was a nutrition professor, chemist or something. And he's like, I normally eat 2,500 calories a day or whatever it was. And I want to lose X percentage of body fat. And so he just said, or body mass. So he just ate 1,800 calories a day of complete garbage. And he lost weight. Well, yeah, you can do that and feel terrible and not gain muscle mass and not get the thermic effects and be super hungry in between every meal because you've eaten nothing but refined carbohydrates.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll never succeed long-term unless you are eating foods that deal with hunger. If they do not deal with hunger, then just enjoy being fat, because you will fail.
Yeah, and the more of those refined carbs you eat, the junky sugars, high fructose corn syrups, all those things are going to fuel your hunger hormones more and pack on more pounds.
And the thing is, you don't have to cut out everything you like. If you really like chips and you're counting macros and you're getting your 35 or 40% protein, you can eat them. You'll just be eating way less of them.
So the rule,
way less frequently.
And I think Corey talks about it in her show, but the rule of thumb that we use and most people use is the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're eating well, following the rules. 20% of the time you are free to enjoy the indulgences of life.
Yes, but
now the next thing I say,
because if you totally 100% cut out everything all the time,
no, you have to live life. You have to.
Yeah,
like, I think there's
well, right. I mean,
total restriction is set up for fail. So
So I mean, it's why Dave Ramsey pisses me off, right? It's like,
no, it's not all or nothing.
it's
You
like
have to be able to.
you got to
enjoy
cut up
food.
your credit cards. I had no credit card. My credit rating is 0, and I'm worth like $19 gajillion, and my credit. And I'm like, yeah, but you're also a dick, and I want to rent a car on vacation, and it's really important to have a credit card to be able to rent a freaking car.
Right.
So I mean,
but
there is
honestly,
balance.
people need to take out. But I think the balance is that people are eating way too much crap, and so they really
what
need to
you'll
dial it
find
down.
out, and what we found out on this journey, is you're eating way, way, way more carbs than you think.
Yeah.
Because they are everywhere.
Everywhere.
They are like Satan's minions. They are hidden in all of this processed food like you can't even comprehend.
Okay, let's talk about the next leg on the stool, which is we talked about the food a lot and the tracking, but it's important for everybody, young women, older people especially, and this is the truth. You need to lift heavy shit, meaning you need to lift weights. And people are in the gym, on the treadmill, on the elliptical. They're like doing cardio to burn more calories and counting calories. And I'm telling you, and I did an experiment, and this no joke. You can stop doing cardio and lift weights and even increase your consumption of calories, and you will burn more. You will get leaner, because as you build lean muscle and you get stronger, not only does it protect you from all the dangerous things like falling and bone thing, but you're building a more lean muscle. You're getting stronger, burning more calories to fuel the fire. And people need to actually lift weights in order to burn and lose weight.
The bottom line is,
and you don't want to, I was going to say, and what happens usually is people go on these giant starvation fasts and cut their calories too much, and then they lose muscle mass more than they lose fat. And then you don't want that, because then you're just a walking skin and bones with blobs of fat. And,
you're skinny fat,
yeah.
Skinny fat's still fat. And
then your metabolism tanks. So the gist of it is, everybody will tell you nowadays, you need to focus on heavy weightlifting, and 2 to 3 times a week for sure.
Yeah, see, I think cardio.
And then you can put the cardio in there. I'm not saying don't do cardio. I'm saying if you're trying to lose weight, you really need to focus on lifting weights and then sprinkle the cardio in there too.
Yeah, and I get a little bit. I mean, I've been through this enough times. I mean, I was a child when aerobics started. My brother actually did like 6 weeks or whatever at the Cooper Clinic, Kenneth Cooper, who coined the word aerobic, and how, basically everything was heart disease then. If you want to limit heart disease, you just got to do cardio. Everyone needs a treadmill and running, and, Jim Fixx wrote the original, whatever it was, somebody's guide to running or whatever it was. And on and on and on and on and on, right? All the marathon running in the 70s, all of that stuff. And I've been involved in endurance sports and running, and I get that. I totally agree with May. I think that if you're going to be a efficient metabolic machine, you want the highest lean body mass you can have, which means the most amount of muscle to fat ratio as possible. You do not get that from doing cardio. You get that from doing lots of weightlifting.
Yeah, and women especially are always afraid that weightlifting is going to make them bigger, and it doesn't.
You won't. It's impossible. No. Unless you're injecting yourself with like steroids. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So that really is critical from like the health and fitness side. I think cardio is important. I like it because I like what it does for my brain.
For your cardiovascular heart health, but we're talking strict weight loss.
Right. And you still want to be cardiovascularly fit to just do stuff like to go skiing and hiking.
Right,
and all these things. So I think that, but what's happened is
people are less focused on weights.
We live in this pendulum world, and the pendulum swung from, just cardio stuff during the aerobics era in the 70s and 80s. And then you had like all this bodybuilding stuff. And then you had what I think is one of the stupidest exercise programs in the history of mankind, which is CrossFit. I think CrossFit is completely insane because the risk of injury. I thought you were
going to say yoga.
No, because the idea of CrossFit is fantastic. You do this like high intensity, multiple stuff. But the problem is it's always high intensity. So then people get injured, and then you're not doing CrossFit because you're not doing anything
Yeah.
because you're injured.
I did.
And I look at this and I go, well, why should every single exercise be high intensity? That makes
I
like
think I was
absolutely zero
hanging from
sense.
this bar by like one ankle trying to do like scissors and pull the groin muscle.
Yeah.
Took me out for like a month. Anyway, it was
Yeah.
stupid.
So I think, and we're
Well-
not going to go into details of like what does a workout look like and how should you do this and whatever.
We can
That's not
provide that, but basically don't forget to focus on lifting weights. There you go. And then I really want to talk about the importance of sleep. Yes, it does play a part in losing weight. We know it plays a huge issue or a huge part in cortisol levels. It plays a part in being, your body needs to repair itself so that you're feeling rested, so that you can actually wake up feeling refreshed, so that you can do your workouts, so that you want to eat healthier. When people are tired, they also eat more crap. They consume more caffeine and sugary beverages and food. Studies show it to try to keep themselves awake. So you end up actually eating, I think it's 150 to 300 more calories just because you're sleep deprived. But sleep is a really big factor. And any athlete,
well,
gets
yeah, and
9
on
hours of sleep.
average,
So people need 8 to 9 hours.
yeah, you got to shoot for 8 hours. And for most people, they're like, that's insane.
And we're not going into all the other effects of low sleep, but it really makes a difference in weight loss. There you go. You heard it from us. You have to get sleep. Any other tips you want to share?
No, but I'll just really quickly get rid of the garbage, eat real food, write everything down, decrease your calories once you've figured out what to write it down by focusing on 30 to 35% protein.
1 gram
and
per pound of
low
lean
carb,
body
like
mass.
low carb. If you can get to 20% or less of carbs, that will be really, really advantageous to weight loss. And then
lift heavy shit.
Yeah, but you also have to decrease your calories. So if you let's say you were eating 2,500 calories at your body mass now, go to 2,200 or 2,000. Most people can feel fine on 2,000, even if they're pretty active. So that's easy.
I'm
you might
going
have
to
to go
link
to 1,800 or 1,600, depending on if you're only at, so, decrease it by 10 to 15%. That's super, super simple math.
Try the intermittent fasting for 16 hours.
I think that is the lowest hanging fruit on the weight loss fruit tree.
Eat twice a day, have a big lunch, brunch, and have a big dinner. Don't eat and snack before bed. Drink plenty of water, and there you go.
Yeah, and don't drink your calories. I mean, like it is. I mean, I've had patients that drank 1,800 to 2,200 calories of soda a day, and they would bitch about how they couldn't lose weight, and I go, well, like nobody. I mean, unless you're Michael Phelps and you're swimming 8,500 calories worth of swimming a day, you can't do this.
Do you know what the average consumption of soda is in the U.S. per person?
Ounces?
Currently?
Ounces? Oh, it's got to be 24 ounces a day.
The average consumption is 60 gallons a year of soda per person. It's a lot of jugs of root beer from the A&W.
Yeah,
that's one per day. That's over a gallon a day of soda per person. That is disgusting.
No, it's not. You said 60 gallons a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's a week.
Gallons.
That's a week. Don't do math at nighttime.
Yeah.
On
apparently.
a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'd be 365 gallons, which would be even more.
Yeah. Per week. That's still gross. But people drink that every day. I've seen it. Cases of soda. Really outstanding. Anyway, I think we've got to wrap this up and put a little bow on it. Check out the books that I mentioned. I will link them, and go back and take a listen to those other podcast episodes, see what you think. And then obviously, if you have any underlying health issues, really check with your doctor before embarking on any weight loss or exercise journey to make sure that it is safe and right for you. In case you have a condition that predisposes you, just want to throw that out there. This is information and educational information, not medical advice specifically.
But if it had a face, it's delicious.
Drizzled with honey.
That's right. And especially on the trigger.
Delicious. All right. We'll see you next time. Check us out on all our antics on Instagram, Facebook. And now you can watch this if you're just listening on Rumble. You can see us sitting in our studio making faces at each other. So check us out on Rumble, bsfreemd.com.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
While we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible, we can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.